Welcome back. Today I wanted to discuss and talk about how our past shapes our present and how our present creates our future, and basically how to change that past in your present to create a different future. So anything that happened in the past is embedded within us. We are multidimensional beings. We're encoded with DNA. As human beings, we don't ever use all of the coding within our DNA. Some things are embedded within us that, may come out in different generations, depending on what, how it's triggered, our nature, our nurture. There's so much that goes into that, right? But one thing that's for sure is that everything that happens to us is imprinted within us. And that creates a whole succession of events to shape and mold us into who we become, right? So let's say there's a traumatic episode or a few traumatic episodes, circumstances, what have you, from the past. Most people will say, yes, there's something traumatic that has happened or something that was very difficult to overcome that happened in my past. Now, if they somehow don't work through that to consciously heal from that, they're still carrying that with them to the present. But your brain can't differentiate past from present or present from future. It just is. Everything is in the present. Everything is in the now. So whatever from your past, if something from your past is still affecting you in a very negative way, if you haven't healed from it, then it's not your past. It's literally still your present. Within yourself, even if years have passed, even if you've changed appearance, you've grown, you're, living in a whole different country, it doesn't matter. Inside yourself, that past is still being lived in there as if it happened today. So there's no differentiation within yourself. It's still there today. And, you can throw a bunch of stuff on top of it to try to avoid it. You can even, throw yourself to your work to try not to think about it. But no matter what, it's still going to be in there. And this little bit from your past is shaping and molding your present so much that in the future, it's still going to be there and it's still going to be affecting you in the same way. So this present that is really your past is going to continue onto your future. And undealt with, it will be passed on generation to generation to generation. That's what we call the intergenerational trauma. It is a very real existence, and that's why it's extremely important to do your best to address something that has happened, address whatever it is that you're still carrying, acknowledge that it's a reality, and acknowledge that you want to change it for the future. You want to do something different. Now, some things obviously take years and years and years of therapy. It's not something you can just overcome overnight. I'm not saying just let go of your trauma like it didn't happen. That's absolutely unrealistic. What I am saying is to acknowledge it, shed some light on it. As soon as you shed light on something that is true within yourself, even from your past, in this case, that this circumstance, situation is still affecting you in the present, as if it had just happened yesterday, or as if it's still happening today. Because again, your mind can't differentiate past from present when it's reliving it inside yourself. As soon as you shed light on that, there's nowhere for it to go. It can't hide anymore. So now you have to deal with it. It's there. You can see it. You acknowledge it. And from that point, it doesn't have as much power as it did living inside you, doing whatever the hell it wanted to do without you consciously acknowledging it, right? As soon as you acknowledge it, you can begin to say, I'm going to deal with this. I'm going to deal with this, and I'm going to acknowledge that it's still affecting me, and I'm going to acknowledge that I don't want it to affect me this way anymore because I want to have a different future. I don't want to pass this on to my children. I don't want to pass this on to their children. I want to deal with it today, right? And there's so many ways that you can begin to do that. You know, you can start by first talking to yourself, obviously, about this is what you want to do. You can reach out for help. You can talk to a counselor. You can talk to a psychologist. You can do some self-development work on your own. You can also gather assistance from a coach that has this type of knowledge and awareness, because trauma work is a lot different than just working with somebody who hasn't experienced trauma, right? It's something that has to be addressed and has to be dealt with. And there are many ways to go about that. But the first step is acknowledging it and recognizing that this, what's perceived to be in the past, is not in the past. It's in the present. And when you are able to, in the present, address what happened and choose to heal from it and take the necessary steps that you need to not only address it, but actually change that present reality of what it's doing to you, then right away, it's almost like you change the past. As soon as what happened doesn't have that grasp on you presently, it's like it's gone. It's gone from your present reality. You can think about it, but it's not going to affect you emotionally. You can remember it, but it's no longer holding on to you in the present. You've let it go. It's finished. It's done. Until you reach that point, it's like the past is still here. Until you reach that point that you recognize that it's gone because it no longer hurts you to talk about it. It's no longer affecting you emotionally. It's no longer giving you those feelings of uncertainty, anxiety, panic, worry. Until that happens, it still has that power over you. That past hasn't gone anywhere. You can change it. You can change that past as far as how it affects you in the present. You can change that the course of what happened. You can change it to the point that it's not going to affect you or anybody else in the future. And that's how powerful it is to acknowledge that that's there, to recognize that it's an issue for you, to realize that it hasn't gone anywhere, and that now you're choosing to do something about it, no matter how long it's been. It could be 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. It could be 400 years. You know, it could be something that's been carried generation after generation after generation after generation, and you still feel it because nobody has dealt with it. But you can deal with it today, and you can stop it, and you can begin that process of healing. And it starts with acknowledging that this is an issue. It starts with acknowledging it's a reality. It starts with saying, I'm going to change that, for not only for myself, but for everybody that comes after me. And that is like such amazing power that we all have. You and I both have this. We can take something that has happened to us or through us and change the course of its outcome. And it all starts with you. So I really, really encourage everybody to really go within and see what it is that maybe you has shaped and molded you up to this point, that weight that you're carrying, that emotional pain, any traumatic experiences that you've gone through, and start shedding that light on it, and then start having those conversations, and start a plan of action that could actually help you from today to begin to let go of that past and change it in the present so you and yours can have a very different future.